Did you know that you can have a restaurant in Ghana without actually owning your own kitchen? Sounds crazy, right? Today, I've got an amazing video for you. My name is Della, also known as Natural Ghana Girl, and today I'm going to be sharing with you an interview with Dr. Wanida Lewis. I'm not going to say too much. She has so much to say. I'm going to get her on camera right now. I'm going to show you this amazing space that she's created right here in Ghana, Accra.
I was taking the lead while I sat in the backseat. Then we both grew up in time, but everything's still on my mind all the time. Yeah, all the time when I think it over. I remember you.
So you have an absolutely beautiful space.
Thank you.
So tell me, how long did it take to put this together? Because it looks like a big job.
Yeah, it actually didn't take very long. It felt like it, but it didn't.
Okay.
We acquired the house in April of last year, and we started with renovations in November, and we finished in January.
Okay.
So it was really just doing like a facelift. So a lot of painting,
Right.
a lot of updating of things. So it's not like we had to actually physically build anything.
Yeah.
I mean, even this green wall, I mean, that was really something that just came about. We found some grass, fake grass at the market, and we went to Orca, and I was like, yeah, this is what it's going to look like. So,
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so you acquired the property in April. So how long have you been living in Ghana?
This time around, I moved back in January of 2020. So I've been here for 3 years.
You said this time around.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
So I used to live here. I lived here and worked here in 2018. So this is beyond the return.
Okay.
And I lived here for a few months. I worked at the U.S. Embassy. I was a science fellow, and I was working with women entrepreneurs and environmental issues. So I was here for a few months, got a chance to travel to other countries, and then was like, you know what? I would love to be able to stay. They didn't have any opportunities for me to stay on, so I went back to D.C. and then was able to come back in 2020.
Wow. Okay. So you came beyond the return, but that was because of work.
Yeah. So I started coming here because of work in really 2017, then lived here in 2018.
Okay. So had you ever considered going to any of the other African countries?
Oh yeah, I've been to several. So I've been to, of course, Cote d'Ivoire, I've been to Benin, I've been to Togo, I've been to South Africa and all that. I've even been to Mozambique.
Okay. You've been more places than me, okay.
And, when I was thinking about where I wanted to live, just anywhere in the world, you think about how can I get to family who's here. And when I lived here in 2018, I had a community of people. So I knew I had folks that, knew how to navigate the system. I have an older cousin whose husband is Ghanaian. His family house is down the street. So when he comes into town, I can easily get in touch with him or any of his family members.
Right.
Yeah, and I like warm weather. I want warmth and flip-flops.
I love warm weather.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I need warm weather. I need pineapples and all the things all year round.
Yeah, totally makes sense completely. So being back in Ghana and obviously not having a job and creating this space, how has that worked out for you? Has everything about Ghana kind of lived up to your expectation?
I think yes and yes. I'll definitely say that. I think, when I first moved here in 2018, I was a diplomat. That's a totally different lifestyle.
I mean, yeah,
you don't worry about housing. You don't exactly. You don't have to worry about housing. If I need to go somewhere like during work, I can just get a car. If all the things, and then you still get U.S. dollars. That's you don't think about it too much. And even then, the rate was different.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I'm just going to interject for a second because I found that when I first moved to Ghana, a lot of people had these expaty type jobs where they were so comfortable, and then a lot of those jobs started fading out for people.
Yeah.
And they couldn't live here anymore because they'd had such a soft landing. But that didn't deter you.
No, and honestly, even for me when I moved here, I didn't have a cushy lifestyle. Like I was living within somebody, it was one of the diplomats, they went on summer vacation. So I stayed in their house.
Oh, it wasn't your own space.
Yeah, I wasn't even in my own space. I literally was in a room within a huge house, and I couldn't go anywhere else because their kids' stuff was everywhere because they lived there for a number of years. And it actually ended up moving me to an apartment later, but still, you're kind of like nomadic. My base was in DC. My stuff was in DC.
Right.
You know, so it's a little bit different. Now, when I came back in 2020, I had talked to enough people to ask, how do I get an apartment? And I also knew how I wanted to live in Ghana.
Right.
You know, and what did that look like? First thing first was, for me, was I'm not going to pay US dollars for my apartment.
Right.
Because anything can come and go. So my apartment that I pay for, and I live in West Legon.
Right.
And I've lived in the same apartment for the last 3 years, mind you. Wow. It's on the top floor, it's a huge 1-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom. I pay less than 2,000 cedis a month.
What?
And my rent has only gone up.
That's really cheap for
Yes.
that area. I mean, that's...
Yeah. When I first moved here, it was 1,300 CDs. Yeah.
Really? Did you have to do it up? Did you have to do
Not
a lot of
really.
work?
I mean, I had to put, yes, I had to get my stove and, my chairs and all of that. But other than that, no. I mean, and even since I've been there, I haven't had to do anything crazy, and it's great. I mean, I sometimes I'm like, I need a second bedroom, but I'm like, do I really? It's really not that serious. And it's on a paved road.
Right. Important. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So finding my place, I mean, I had a little bit of, for some people, maybe discomfort because you're not coming here to go from one place to another. So I actually rented an Airbnb, which a lot of people have told me to do before you find the place that you want to live.
Yeah.
And I did that because I was working in Medina when I first moved here. I was working for a nonprofit. So it made sense for me to be out on this side of town because when I first lived here, I was in Cantonments.
Oh, it's too far.
Yeah. So
That's expensive.
Yeah. Cantonments lifestyle is very different from West Legon lifestyle.
Yeah, I think even if you live in places like Cantonment, which is very expensive, I feel like either you have money or you're living a lifestyle that does not belong to you.
Exactly. Someone's getting scammed.
Right.
Someone's getting scammed. So, I mean, and even in Osu, like, I also like my peace of quiet. And I've always heard Osu can be very loud.
Yeah.
Especially around December. And I was just thinking about that. So that's what I thought about. And when I wanted to start Crescendo, which this idea came into my mind back in 2015. So this is pre-Ghana.
Wow.
I was like, okay, if I have it anywhere, where is it going to be?
Yeah.
And I thought about Osu, but then I didn't want to pay Osu prices because that meant I would have to move to Osu or move to Chado, which means I have, you have to think about uprooting yourself.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a car, I don't have any of that. So I was like, what does that look like for me? And so I found this house in West Legon. And I was like, all right, it's 5 minutes from my actual apartment. I could walk here if I chose to.
Right.
And it's off of the main road. It's near Gimpa. We're near Legon. It's perfect.
How do you get from doing American-y state stuff to state departments? How do you get from there to doing this? They're very different paths.
I mean, I'm a chameleon. I mean, to be honest, even becoming a food scientist was not expected. Right. So I mean, at all. Like I said, crescendo, it's a music theory term. I come from a musical family, my mom was a music teacher. Right. So I played instruments. I wanted to be a brain surgeon growing up.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted to be like the next Ben Carson, and I realized I didn't like blood. So
okay.
So I did research.
It's an important fact.
Right. That was very. I was like, well, what am I going to do if I don't go to medical school?
Right.
And there wasn't any pressure for me to be something. I had to be, something that I was happy with. But so I decided to do research. I did research with this African American food scientist at North Carolina State. He was the first and only faculty member there. And I said, okay, this is really cool. Kind of dibbled and dabbled. Yeah. And everybody went into the food industry. I didn't necessarily want to do that, but I ended up doing it anyway. Okay. So after I got my PhD, and my undergrad and my master's are in chemistry. So I actually did a switch going over to food science because people think we're nutritionists, but I'm actually a chemist. And I studied peanuts. So that's a whole other trajectory of a career I could have done. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go into the food industry. I'm going to make my money. and then I'm gonna figure it out. And I said, I want to work for the U.S. government.
So, hold on, but so did you actually have a career path? This is just crazy to me. Like, you sound like you're like this, which is great, because that works for some people. It definitely does. But so you didn't actually have a plan?
No, and the thing is, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but it was a matter of when.
Okay, so when you moved to Ghana, did you have a plan for this?
Oh yeah, it was a matter of when. But most people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna work this job and make my money, and then I'll transition and do that." And what ended up happening was I left the organization I was working with. And I was like, and it was the pandemic, so we were locked down. And I was like, do I really actually want to stay in Ghana, or do I want to move back to the U.S.?
Right.
I don't want to go back to the U.S. I remember calling my parents, and my dad, his background's in healthcare. My dad's a recreational therapist. And he's like, stay in Ghana. That's what he said. He was like, stay in Ghana, you got a better chance. We'll see you on the other side. And I was like, okay. And then one of my really good friends, she's like, well, you've been talking about this idea of this shared kitchen space for years. Just launch it.
But were you not worried about doing something so different in Ghana here? Because it's not something that you see everywhere. So how confident were you that idea was actually going to work?
I was like, you know what? Look, mediocre white men do it all the time.
I ain't saying.
I'm just like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's a lesson learned, right? You learn.
But you're not scared, like you're investing this money in, and obviously you've just left a job that was paying you dollars. I'm assuming you're
No, actually, I was working at a nonprofit that was I was earning cities, but I had dollars working at the State Department.
Okay.
And I did some, even before I left, I had downsized so I could stack my money. So I had money saved up. And also because I worked in private sector.
Right.
And I worked for the government. I had a 401k that I was like, if anything happens, I'll be all right.
Right. Okay, so you had a plan before you.
Yeah, and I was
financial
consulting.
Plan.
So I was still making dollars. I was consulting. Because the thing about it is, it's like, okay, you have a PhD. You cannot be out here just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got a PhD. I went to school for 13 years.
Woo.
I went straight through. I need to do something.
Yeah.
I also teach yoga. So
you
it's
do?
like, so it's like there's so many things.
I feel like I'm not doing enough.
No. So I'm like, there's something for me to do.
Yeah.
And so I just, took my time. So before and I'll be very honest, I would be lying to say, of course, I just put my money behind it and it just went well. Yeah. No, like I'm sweating bullets. Like even now that we're like, because one of my really good friends, she reminds me, every year I was stressed about something. She's like, the first year was stressed that because you get registered.
Right.
Now you're registered. You're a nonprofit. The second year is could you find a place?
Right.
You found a place. The third one is are you going to build it?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so now you're here. And, they say most businesses, they're successful, after 5 years.
Exactly. You have to give yourself time.
You have to give yourself time. And we're the first one in the country, first one in the region. So I have to be patient.
Yeah.
And it is, it's a challenge because I have to also remind myself, I'm like, well, it took me 4.5 years to get my doctoral degree. Ooh. And that was a lot of trauma, a lot of patience, and so, I mean, it'll be 10 years, actually, 10 years this month since I graduated.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time, but it doesn't feel like it. So that's the thing, like I tell anybody, like, if somebody's like, it's just so easy, they're probably lying. I mean, like, let's be very clear.
Yeah.
Like, there are definitely times where I'm just like, I just want to, not even like, I want to go back to the States. That was never the thought. I was just like, maybe I should just, I don't know, go and get a regular job.
No, you should absolutely shouldn't. You should always follow your dream because you'll always regret. That's one of the things you'd always regret, having not done something as opposed to having done something and it's failed.
Exactly.
So always go for it. So tell me some of the ways that you were able to cut back on your expenses having moved to Ghana, because obviously, you're used to spending a certain amount of money on comfortable things, the things that make you happy and all of that. So were you able to transition so that you were able to live a lower cost lifestyle being in Ghana?
I mean, pre-ECG. I mean, you think about, I mean, the prepaid situation is nice. You pay as you go.
Right.
And in the US, you will always get a bill.
Yeah.
They will always remind you you owe somebody money.
Yeah.
And you have to have, here's a cash economy.
Yeah.
So you have to have it. And, you have to have the cash. You got to pay to play.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the expenses I don't have anymore. I don't have to worry about paying for, car insurance because I'm not driving.
Right.
I don't have, even when I was in the States, I didn't have a car payment because I had the same car since graduate school. So my car was paid off.
Right.
But I also did not have to worry about paying for, other expenses of having to go to the grocery store every week. Like here, you could just go to the market, cut stuff up, freeze it, go about your business.
Exactly.
If you got friends who cook. I mean, and actually I'll say this, some of the things I've done in the States, I still do here.
Okay.
Like meal prep. I still do meal prep. That has always worked for me. I have friends who are like, hey, somebody's cooking, bring something or just bring your container.
Yeah.
So I have that community of folks as well. And, also, because I teach yoga in the yoga studio I teach at, which is at Bliss, as a yoga teacher, I can go and take classes when when they're available.
Right.
So I don't really have to worry about taking a train. It's more so the time because I used to take the train to work at the State Department.
Yeah.
I would have to budget in an hour of my time. Here, it's okay. Depending on who my driver is, I may have to explain where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm here in 10 to 15 minutes.
Wow.
So you learn how to balance life a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And then also too, I can now just like literally go for a walk. Now I did that at State, but if I had back-to-back meetings, there's no way that I'm able to do that.
So it's a completely different lifestyle.
Exactly. And it's easy to just get fruit from the person up the street.
Yeah.
Or if there's a lot more apps, so you can pay everything. I would definitely say, it is nice in the States to have everything linked to your card. But then if you forget that something is due, you're like, what happened to my entire paycheck?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So has there ever been a time, probably this has been my final question, has there ever been a time where you felt like, I've had enough, I'm going back to the States? She's laughing.
I'll say I need to go back to the States for like a month. I will say that.
Okay.
I think, and it's funny because it was also the same in the US. Where I'm like, all right, I'm tired of this capitalistic lifestyle. I just need to go somewhere and not have to think all the time.
Yeah.
But here now, because as an entrepreneur, you're thinking about the next thing.
Always.
All
the time.
So there is, I have my outlets, and a lot of my, my hub manager, she'll say to me, you just need to get out of Accra.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you need. Right?
Yeah. I did that last year for my birthday, and I went to Ghana Meet Me there, and it was an amazing 3 days, and I was like, okay, this is my recharge.
Yeah.
So that was exactly what I needed. Okay. And I was like, all right, this works. But there are times where I'm like, you know what, it's about that time. I need to just go see a couple people, just kind of have that grounding. I just need to be grounded a little bit because my family's not here.
Yeah.
And then, eat Chick-fil-A, go to Target.
Do some comfortable things.
Right. Comfortable things. And then you're like, oh, okay. Oh, I forgot. Y'all ticket people for parking. Let me go ahead and go.
I love it. So, okay. All right. This is my final question this time. What advice would you give to someone who perhaps would like to move to Ghana, doesn't really know where to start? What would be the one key piece of information that you think that person should have?
Be open and patient. You have to be open-minded.
Yeah.
I think also all the things that you know about, like the reason why I say be open is because a lot of the times we come in here with this preconceived notion that, as soon as I get off the airplane, there's going to be drummers waiting for me. And there's going to be people doing the Ajwa dances. They're like, no, that's not how it works. It's like, you remember the old airport, you would be asked 15 times if you need a taxi. Right. Now they're very subtle.
Yes.
But you have to be open to just knowing what the possibilities are and just be patient. Be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to be patient with others in order to be just successful in this space.
Yeah.
And really being realistic. I mean, because if you're not open-minded you're not going to experience all of Ghana for what it has.
It's very, very, very true.
And I mean, that's just what it is. So I mean, and meet people who aren't necessarily from the same background.
Yeah.
You know, like,
So you have to learn to adapt.
Yeah, you have to learn to adapt. So just be open-minded and just be patient. And yeah, especially dealing with traffic here, you have to be patient.
You need a lot of patience for that, for real.
Yes.
Definitely. Okay, so where can people find you? If they want to check out your space?
Sure. So you can find us in West Legon. I mean, this is our sign that we're Crescendo Foods. We're on Instagram. You can find us by putting Crescendo_foods.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook. We're now on TikTok. We just joined TikTok.
Still TikTok, yeah.
Joined TikTok this week. So that was interesting. And we're in West Legon. We're about 3 minutes from Gimpa, not too far from the electronic gate on the West Legon side of Legon. And find us on the socials. You can also call us on WhatsApp or on our regular phone, and we're here. So please, we always tell people, yes, we cater to food businesses, but it's also for people who just love to eat. So come by if you need a co-working space.
I know a few people that would like that.
Yeah, I mean, come by. You need a place to just pop a squat, as we say, and to work. Come through.
Lovely, I love it. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time that you've given to me.
We'll see you soon.
You will, I'm telling you. Talking to me about banana bread and things like that. I'm coming back to eat. I love it so much. But guys, that is the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do go ahead and check out their socials. Come here, relax, put your feet up. Let them serve you food. Have a comfortable space. I love this place so much. You definitely have to check it out. Okay. Don't forget to also, guys, please like, comment, and share this video. That is the end. Until next time, guys. Nutitfafa.
Then we both grew up in time, but everything's still on my mind.